This is certainly a confounding decision by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to no longer brief Congress in person on these election security issues just 66 days, as you said, before this November presidential election. Now, when the president and the chief of staff were asked about this, they pointed to what the DNI has said, which suggested that part of this change comes in response to some leaking from members of Congress. Listen.
Why is the DNI no longer going to be updating the House and the Senate on election security issues in person?
Well, I could have Mark answer that question. Mark, please.
Yeah, I'll be glad to answer it. I talked to Director Ratcliffe, and as you know, he's been giving briefings. So he's going to ultimately give full briefings in terms of not oral briefings, but full intel briefings. But it really comes down to one simple thing. The last time they gave briefings, a few members went out and talked to the press and disclosed information that they shouldn't have disclosed. And so he's going to make sure that there's the proper tools for their oversight and make sure that they contain it in a way that does not jeopardize sources and methods for the intel that we gather.
Mr. President, Director Ratcliffe brought information into the committee, and the information leaked. Whether it was Shifty Schiff or somebody else, they leaked the information before it gets in. And what's even worse, they leaked the wrong information. And he got tired of it. So he wants to do it in a different forum.
Now, allegations that Capitol Hill leaks information that comes from briefings provided by the administration is nothing new to this particular White House. That has been the case in previous administrations as well. What is new, of course, is this decision to send these briefing updates only in paper form and not in person, which gives members of Congress an opportunity to have some back and forth with the briefers. And, of course, it's the fact that they are just doing this as it relates to this very specific issue of election security, an issue that, of course, we know President Trump is very sensitive about, particularly when it comes to potential Russian interference in the presidential elections. Now, as you said, Anna, this has already received round condemnation from Democrats on Capitol Hill. There is a statement from the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee in the House, Adam Schiff. They call it this a shocking abdication of responsibility, and they say this is shameful and coming only weeks before the election demonstrates that the Trump administration is engaged in a politicized effort to withhold election-related information from Congress and the American people at the precise moment that greater transparency and accountability is required. This keeps both the American people and Congress in the dark when both are in need of the information. And they also say in this statement, very interestingly, that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence had actually scheduled a briefing on the topic of election security for mid-September with members of Congress. They actually then went and canceled that briefing and then made this announcement that they were only going to be providing this information in written form. So it certainly is a confounding announcement. We have yet to hear from Republicans on Capitol Hill, but of course we know that this is typically an issue that members of both parties have been concerned about in terms of election security and also in terms of getting these briefings in person where they can press intelligence officials about their conclusions.